Well, the podcast series is essentially emanating from within the discipline of psychiatry, and it discusses issues. We have conversations about issues that are relevant to the practice of psychiatry, and within the context of those conversations, I interview psychiatrists, people who are kind of thought leaders around these issues, not exclusively psychiatrists, also other mental health professionals, psychologists as well. And so the intention of the podcast is really to provide an understanding of what goes into psychiatry in terms of the thinking of psychiatry. One can take a textbook and you can just kind of look at the different diagnoses and what the symptoms are and what the treatment is. And you can look at psychiatry in a very kind of concrete way. But behind all of that, there are a host of issues. And so that is what the podcast series looks at, are issues within the field of psychiatry, but which have relevance for society in general. We try not to be too technical, but by the same token, we do raise the issues and we do discuss them. So it's like listening to a bunch of psychiatrists have a conversation about an issue. First podcast of the new episodes that we've recorded deals with nutrition. It's called Smart Food for the Brain, and we look at nutritional psychiatry as an emerging area within psychiatry. And essentially, we're looking specifically at selected disorders to see whether there is anything nutritionally that one can add to one's treatment to get a better outcome, because there's an emerging science that is looking at that. And we're also looking at the interaction between the gut and the brain, which I think is an emerging field, which is very important. And so I think we essentially get down to some of the basics that we should all be following to create the optimal foundation for good health, not just physical health, but emotional well-being and mental health as well. The nutritionist who joins us, Tabitha Hume, does actually specifically go into and discuss the Mediterranean diet, which I think is whole grains, vegetables, fruits, some protein. So it's a range of foods, but I think the most important thing about food is that it's tasty and that you enjoy it. And as I always say to my eating disorder patients, food is for two reasons: sustenance and pleasure. So I think there has to be a pleasure component, and I think one has to make sure that whatever you're eating is something that you really enjoy. And we have a few other different kinds of episodes where we've looked at photographers in war zones. What are the psychological consequences? We're also looking at the psychology of serial killers in one of our episodes, where we have a profiler coming to discuss that. So we've got quite a broad range of topics coming up, including things like assisted dying, people who want to die. And we're looking on the other side at the trauma of loss, people who have lost loved ones to suicide. So, as I said, we cover a full spectrum of issues, which is in addition to the original 15 prominence. We also looked at psilocybin, one of the hallucinogenics, or one of the psychedelics, should I say, that is also starting to come to the fore as a potential agent or drug of interest, moving from illicit substance to therapeutic substance, moving from anesthetics to psychiatry. So we are looking at emerging trends